thank you for given this opportunity to introduce the host. Today's host is Mr. Ashutosh Kadam, and I'm going to introduce his biodata. Okay, his education, he is qualified the Master of Buddhist Studies at the Center of Buddhist Studies, the University of Hong Kong. Also, he did MA in Pali, completed from Department of Pali, Mumbai University. Also, he NET qualified in Pali language. Also, he did Pali Level 1 online courses from Oxford Center for Buddhist Studies. Also, he completed Brahmi script and Pali language. And also, he participated Pali Upaparikha, that is the department level conference. Also, he knows the classical language, that is Pali, Sanskrit, and classical Tibetan. Also, he presented paper in Dhammacakkappavattana, the revival of Buddhism in October month. Twice time he read the paper in October 2017 and 2018. Also, he successfully completed Samnera Sikha training program for 15 days. Also, he was a monk, he was a Samanera for 1 year. And also he got the scholarship and awards in 2022 to 23 Glory Sun Group postgraduate scholarship in Buddhist Studies for Master of Buddhist Studies at the Center of Buddhist Studies, Hong Kong University. So we would like to invite the Mr. Ashutosh Kadam. He will talk about the Mahāyāna Sutras. So without delay, we are going to welcome Mr. Ashutosh Kadam. So we are going to hand over the mic to Mr. Ashutosh Kadam. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Nutan Madam, and thank you, Dr. Sheetal Mishra, for inviting me for guest lecture as a guest lecturer in your online Vihara program. So I'm going to present one Mahāyāna Sutra, which is very similar to our Theravada tradition, but it has very slightly a little Mahāyāna taste, and which is considered as a very early Mahāyāna doctrine. And this is the same sutra which I presented for my Mahāyāna essay during my Hong Kong studies. Okay, so I'm going to start this PPT, and my lecture will be in Hindi and English little, and I will also try some Marathi phrases to my students. They are also joining here. Okay, let's start. Yes. Can you see the whole screen?
Yes.
Yeah, the sutra name is ārya-śālistamba-nāma-mahāyāna-sūtra, and the topic is the exposition of pratītyasamutpāda doctrine. How we can perceive the pratītyasamutpāda from the ārya-śālistamba-nāma-mahāyāna-sūtra. Now let's start. Okay. Let's pay respect to the Buddha first, but this is not the ordinary paying, verse, means Vandana is not the regular one. This is the Vandana composed by Acharya Nagarjuna in his book Moola Madhyamika Karika. And it is very, he sees the Buddha is very, not normal like us. He see the Buddha like this verse. Let's see, let's read the verse first and understand its meaning. Okay. I will chant this verse and then we will start the main topic. Okay. Anirodham anutpadam anuchedam ashasvatam anekartham ananartham anagamam anirgamam yaha pratītyasamutpādam prapancha upashamam shivam deshayamasa sambuddhastam vande vadatam varam. ओके, तो नागार्जुन यहाँ पे मूल मध्यमिका कारिका में ही भगवान बुद्ध को ऐसे इस नजर से देखते हैं, वो वंदन करते हैं बुद्ध भगवान को और कहते हैं, I salute him, the fully enlightened, the best of speakers, who preached the non-ceasing and the non-arising, the non-annihilation and the non-permanence, the non-identity and the non-difference, the non-appearance and the non-disappearance, the dependent arising, the appeasement of obsessions and the auspicious is the qualities of the Buddha. इस प्रकार से वो बुद्ध भगवान को देखता है और मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि भगवान बुद्ध को इसी क्वालिटी से देखना चाहिए। तो नागार्जुना का ये वर्स और आर्य शालिस्तंभ में जो बुद्ध और धर्म प्रतीत्य-समुत्पाद, धर्म का या शून्यता जो डॉक्ट्रिन है उससे वे सिमिलर है ये सब। नेक्स्ट, इंट्रोडक्शन। द ārya-śālistamba-nāma-mahāyāna-sūtra embodies early Mahayana teachings which systematically elaborates the teachings on dependent co-arising or dependent origination. In this sutra, Bodhisattva Maitreya expound teachings of dependent origination on the request of Venerable Sariputta. तिब्बत में इसी सूत्र को पकपा शालू जंग पाशे जावा टेक पाछेन पदु ऐसा नाम है। तिब्बत में ये जो सूत्र है इसे लेने का कारण क्या है? क्योंकि ये जो शालिस्तंभ सूत्र है ये तिब्बत के सूत्र से रिकंस्ट्रक्ट किया गया है और जो अदर कमेंट्रीज है इस शालिस्तंभ सूत्र के ऊपर उसके फ्रैगमेंट्स को यूज करके एक कंप्लीट शालिस्तंभ सूत्र को रिकंस्ट्रक्ट किया गया है। इन दिस सूत्र द बुद्ध while gazing at the stalk of rice utter the following aphorism: whoever monks sees conditioned arising sees the dharma, or we can say in Pali dhamma, but most of the word मैंने संस्कृत यहाँ पे यूज किया है तो धर्म। and whoever sees the dharma sees the Buddha. Then the Shariputra went to meet Bodhisattva Maitreya to ask about the meaning of the utterance of the Buddha. The Bodhisattva illustrated the doctrine of dependent co-arising to him with the simile of seed. The present topic studied how the sutra adopts the gradual understanding of the doctrine in a logical way as well as the epistemological aspect of Paticcasammupada, Shunyata and Buddhakaya or Dharmakaya, we can say. Reed is the name of the author. The Reed has reconstructed this sutra from Tibetan and Chinese sutras into Sanskrit. He does claim, however, the Sanskrit reconstruction is 90% accurate because the sutra has appeared in many other extant Tibetan and Chinese sutras. Further on, the Sanskrit part of the sutra has been extracted from Reed's reconstructed editions. In Sanskrit, the whole sutra is based on this gatha. Yo bhikshavaha pratītyasamutpādam pashyati sa dhammam pashyati. Yo dharmam pashyati sa buddham pashyati. उसी को तिब्बत में ट्रांसलेट वही सेम फ्रेज है और पाली में हमें उसके काउंटर पार्ट्स भी दिखते हैं, जैसे कि वक्कली सुत्त में हमें ये फ्रेज देखने के लिए मिलता है। मध्यम निकाय 28 में यो पटिच्च समुत्पादं पश्यति सो धम्मं पश्यति सो धम्मं पश्यति सो पटिच्च समुत्पादं पश्यति। अभी भगवान बुद्ध ने स्टॉक ऑफ राइस के को देखते हुए ये गाथा उन्होंने अटर की, मीन्स कहा। और शारिपुत्र भंते जी और मैत्रेय बोधिसत्व का ये कन्वर्सेशन है कि इसका मतलब क्या है, ये पटिच्च समुत्पाद क्या है, ये धर्म क्या है, ये बुद्ध क्या है, और पटिच्च समुत्पाद किस प्रकार से हम देख सकते हैं, हाउ कैन वी परसीव द डिपेंडेंट को अराइजिंग. So I have tried to explain these questions here with the help of this sutra. And sutra has very scholastic work regarding these questions, right? And which we cannot find in the Pali sources. And this sutra has its special place in whole Buddhist world actually. Yes. So next, so what is the objective of our presentation? To get familiar with the Sanskrit Buddhist texts like this ārya-śālistamba Sutra, to get familiarity, what is this sutra, why this sutra is important, and why it is highly praised by many Mahayana scholars like Nagarjuna, Kumara Jiva, Kamalashila. They wrote commentaries on this sutra, and which is highly praised in Mahayana world actually. And we should know this sutra because it is very similar to our Theravada tradition, which is not different from us, from our teachings, our basic Pali teachings. It is very close to our Pali teaching. Therefore, the Reed Ross also called this sutra is very early teachings of Mahayana. Okay? To understand the epistemological aspect of the sutra, to understand the dependent co-arising in the context of Mahayana Buddhism, to understand the true meaning of the Buddha Dharma and the Buddha Dharma and the dependent co-arising or origination, we can say. Now, let's understand what is pratītyasamutpāda or Paticcasammupada, you can say. In Sanskrit, we can find this phrase in this sutra, pratītyasamutpāda iti kasmat uchyate. Why is it called condition arising? So, sa hetukaha, sa pratyayo, na hetuko, na pratyayah. Yes, tasmat pratītyasamutpāda ityuchyate. So why it is called causal and the conditional? Because it depends on the causal and the conditions, not non-causal or non-conditional. Therefore, it is called conditional arising. So here is the definition. Because these 12 links arising because of something previous link. Right? It dependently arising, not independently, but dependently. Now, what is the dharma? We are wondering what is the dharma Buddha is saying here. So, dharma katamaha. ārya-śālistamba-margas tadyata samyak drishtiha samyak sankalpaha samyak vak samyak karmantaha सम्यक आजीवः सम्यक व्यायामः सम्यक स्मृति सम्यक समाधिश्च. What is the dharma? It is the eightfold noble path is the dharma, right? The ayam ārya-śālistamba margah iti phala praptischa nirvanamcha aikadyam abhisankshipya dharma ityuchyate bhagavata. Now, after the attainment of fruits, enter into nirvana is called the dharma by the Lord with the help of the Eightfold Noble Path. Okay, next. What is Buddha? How can we understand Buddha with this sutra, ārya-śālistamba Sutra? They define the Buddha as well. Tatra Buddha Bhagwan Katamaha. What is the Bhagavad? What is the Bhagwan? Yaha sarva dharmavabodhat buddha ityuchyate sa ārya pradnya chakshuscha dharma sharirancha sampannaha shaiksha ashaikshancha dharman pashyati. Who is the Buddha? How can we understand the Buddha? Buddha is who? Because he comprehends all the dharmas, he is called the Buddha. All the dharmas he can know, all the dharmas he can understand. The dharmas is simply means the phenomena. He is endowed with the wisdom eye. He can understand the teachings. He can understand. He can see, perceive the Paticcasammupada. He can teach the Paticcasammupada. He can realize the shunyata. He can teach the shunyata so his students can understand what he is saying. He possesses the dharma body. In Mahayana, this concept is very famous. What is Dharmakaya? Mahayana analyzed the Buddha's body into three ways, actually. This is, we cannot see in our Theravada tradition or the Pali tradition, the three bodies of the Buddha. So when the Buddha says that whoever sees me sees the Dharma, and who sees the Dharma sees me. So Buddha is saying that this physical body of mine is not me, it is not the Buddha itself. It is not the ultimate body. The Dharma body is the ultimate body. That is the teachings. The Dharma. He's possessing the three bodies which I mentioned. First is the Nirmana Kaya. Second is the Sambhoga Kaya, and the third one, the ultimate body is the Dharma Kaya. So Buddha is saying to his students, his disciples, that do not pursue my physical body. I am not there, right? I am in the true Buddha can be seen in the Dharma body, not in the ordinary body, because he said this body is going to decay, die one day, and the 9 holes of the body possess filled with filthy things. Do not seek any happiness in this body. Even perceiving me as this body, you are not perceiving the Buddha. That is very simple. So the Mahayana teachings goes with the Dharma body. They try to understand the Buddha truly, ultimately. That is why the Nagarjuna did not say Itipiso Bhagava Arhang Samma Sambuddha. He did not say. He said non-arising, non-ceasing. The dedicatory verse he mentioned in his first verse in the Mula Madhyamika Karika. He wanted to teach his disciple to see the Buddha correctly in the ultimate sense. Now, how can we perceive the Paticcasammupada? Actually, yeah, the sutta. This is the speciality of this sutra of this, the ārya-śālistamba-nāma-mahāyāna-sūtra. It analyzes the pratītyasamutpāda differently, analytically. They try to analyze like this. Like it analyzes into two ways. That is causal and conditional. What is causal? The hetu panibandhataha. All are Sanskrit words because this sutra is based on all the Sanskrit words. That is why it all Sanskrit. Then second one is a pratityo panibandhataha. That is a conditional. And how they analyze the causal and conditional into two ways, objective and subjective, bahya and adhyatmika. Let's see how they pursue the bahya and adhyatmic in respect of causal and the conditional. The causal in objective sense. What is a causal relationship relation in objective condition arising. Now they wanted to elaborate this concept of causal or objective sense, causal in objective sense. They elaborate with the simile of seed, how seed gradually become a tree, right? Yeah, let's see. It is as when a sprout comes from a seed, from sprout a leaf, from the leaf a shoot, from the shoot a stalk, from the stalk a bird, from the bird a flower, and from the flower a fruit. This is the gradual development, how dependently arising one thing to another, how they gradually growing. Then they say, when there is no seed, there is no sprout will occur, because sprout is depend on the seeds. Without seed, there is no sprout, right? And without sprout, there is no leaf. There is no, without leaf, there is no shoot. There is the without shoot, there is no stalk. The without stalk, there is no bird. Without bird, there is no flower. The without the flower, there is no fruit. Like that, right? Because they are trying to say here that everything is dependently arises, not independently, but dependently. Certain cause and condition required for the growth of a seed, right? Next. Then how can we understand the causal in subjective relation? This is the ordinary, this is the traditional way of understanding the Paticcasammupada in every school of Buddhism. And this is very famous in our Theravada tradition also, Pali tradition also. What is that? Because of this, that arises. If this ceases, that ceases. So how can we understand? The avidya. Avidya here means ignorance. Sankhara, mental formation. Vijnanam, consciousness. Nama Rupam, name and form. Shalayatanam, the 6 senses. First is the touch, Vedana, sensation, Tanha is the craving, Upadana is the clinging, Bhava, becoming, Jati is birth, Jara Mara is the decay and death. So how the Pali understands? This is how Pali understands. Avidya Pachaya, Sankhara Pachaya, Vijnana Pachaya, Namarupa Pachaya, Salayatana Pachaya, first Pachaya, Vedana Pachaya, Tanha Pachaya, Upadana Pachaya, Bhava Pachaya, Jati Pachaya, Jaramaranam, Soka Parideva, Dukha Domanasa, Upayasa Sambhavanti, Eometasa Kevalasa, Dukha Kandasa, Samudaya Hoti. So because of this, all kinds of the suffering, aggregates of suffering arises. This is the main how can we say, the main thing of our main cause of arising all kinds of suffering we are dealing with our daily life or in this samsara. So because of this, that arises. If anyone is ceases, the next link will not arise, will not occur. The link is broken, right? This is the traditional understanding, and the ārya-śālistamba-nāma-mahāyāna-sūtra follows this traditional understanding, which is not strange to us. Now, how this each link functions according to this sutra? Ignorance. How ignorance play its role in the link, in this link? The ignorance making a great blindness. How can we understand the blindness? What is blindness? So closing our eyes, not having eyes, it is blindness. Blindness? No, it is not. How can we understand the ignorance? Ignorance means that we perceive things that this is mine, this is I, this is belong to me, this is independently arises, right? These illusions is our ignorance, that such thoughts make us blind. Because of this blinding, because of we think that this is mine, this is mine, this is yours. That is why three poisons gets born, arises. That is greed, hatred, and delusion. And because of greed, hatred, and delusions, the mental formation comes to occur, comes to happen. In the sense of formation, they are starting formation things. Forming the things. They start forming. They start making the things in mentally. Actually, here we are mentally perceiving everything. Mental formation happened. Because of mental formation happens, the six faculties comes to live, like consciousness of causing to know. Along with that, name and form comes to occur. Sense of mutual support to the consciousness. Then followed by six senses happen. The combination of consciousness, the sixth sense, and the touch give birth to feeling. If I perceive a thing, the I consciousness also present there. When these things touches the surface of the thing, then the sensation or the feeling comes to occur, comes to happen. Because of feeling, craving comes to occur, clinging and becoming, birth, decaying. Because we are perceiving that these five aggregates are permanent: mind, individual, self. We are perceiving all the counter things, all the against the dharma, all the against the Buddha's teaching. We are perceiving, start to perceiving this is mine, belongs to me, not seeing objectively, but the subjectively we are taking, consider everything subjectively. That is why all the things, all the heap of suffering happening. Now let's see. Feeling in the sense of experiencing, craving in the sense of thirsting, clinging, grasping, becoming, the sense of giving birth and repeated becoming, birth, the sense of manifestation of aggregates, decay, the sense of maturing the aggregates. Because your perceiving aggregates is this mind, and aggregates comes to occur, aggregates will start to born, they will stay, and they will decay. That is the nature. That is why if that aggregate give the birth, it has to be decay and the followed by death. Grief, then because of death, grief will be there, followed by lamentation, suffering, depression, anxiety. Now we have to understand that the ignorance is the first step of arising all this heap of suffering, right? Now we saw the seeds, example of seed, and the traditional understanding of the Paticcasammupada. But Paticcasammupada, or the 12 links and the example of the seeds, they do not happen, they do not comes to exist without these conditional things. They require conditions. They have all these things, but they require still conditions. They require these 6 factors they require to comes to existence. Without that, they cannot comes to existence. What are those? Earth factor, water factor, heat, wind, space, and the seasonal factor for the seeds, and the consciousness factor for the body. Because with the help of these 6 factors, the 12 links, dual links of dependent co-arising can continue. Now, what is the function of these factors? Earth factor, water factor, heat factor, wind factor, the space factor, and the seasonal factor, Rutu, we say in Sanskrit. And the consciousness, Vijnanam. The earth factor, what is the role of earth factor for seeds? Supporting the seed is the function of earth for the seed. And what is the function of earth for our body? Assemble for the solidity of the body, the solid things in our body, that is the earth factor, right? Water factor functions for seed as a watering the seeds, and the provides the cohesion. Heat factor, the matures the seed, because we require the heat also to mature, to mature the seeds, and for our body it is help for digestion. Wind factor, bring out seeds, because it requires some space, and they also require the air also. That is why they consider air factor for seed. And regarding body, the wind factor function for inhalation and the exhalation. Space factor, not obstructing the seeds, to let it grow as much it can, and to have hollow spaces for our body. The seasonal factor, transforming the seeds, it requires season. And consciousness is the main thing to keep alive our body. That is to produce the sprout of name and form with the 6 consciousness. This is how the 6 factor functions for seeds and for body. Now this Paticcasammupada can have the 5 principles we should understand, and these 5 principles and the 4 limbs I did not find in any Pali sutras actually. Only this ārya-śālistamba-nāma-mahāyāna-sūtra have these 5 principles and the 4 limbs. Maybe I don't know. I don't know whether because the author already did the comparative study with Pali, and he did not find any parallel passage of 5 principles and the 4 limbs in our Pali suttas, and that therefore this sutta has its special position, special stand in Mahayana Buddhism. What is a 5 principle? Not as eternity, not eternity. No, shashvatataha. It is not eternal. It's going to form, is going to decay, is going to change. That is the not as eternity. Not as annihilation. No uchedataha. We cannot say that, because the seed and the sprout are both different things, but because of sprout, because of seed there is sprout, and so on. The following things comes to occur because of the sprout. So we cannot say that after sprout the seeds will disappear. Seeds will be there, but they already transform into something else. Not as transmigration, na sanskrantitaha. We cannot say that the seed transfer into sprout and eventually it's transferred into leaf, fruit, likewise. No. Because of certain conditions, because of certain cause is there. That is why it sees, and it even though it sees, it gives rise to the sprout and the leaves and other things. Same as to the same thing we can apply to the avidya, the sankhara, then vijnana, namarupa, salayatana, and other things. Everything is what? Na shashvataha, nochedataha, na sanskrantitaha. Then the fourth one is as the development of the large fruit from a small cause. Because that small cause, even a small avidya, can give birth to the large amount of a big heap of suffering. Likewise, a seed can become one day a big tree because of the small cause give a big results. That is the fourth principle of this Paticcasammupada. As a continuity of similar types, what you जो आपने ये किया है, क्या किया है, जो आपने बोया है वही क्या होगा, आगे जाके फल देने वाला है, वही फल होने वाला है इसका. आपने सेब डाला है तो जाके पपाया का ट्री नहीं आने वाला है. तो यहाँ पे प्रिंसिपल यही बताता है कि अगर अविद्या नेगेटिव है, ऑलवेज ऑफ कोर्स अविद्या नेगेटिव ही है, अगर नेगेटिव उसका स्टार्ट है तो आगे जाके नेगेटिव होगा, उसका पॉजिटिव हो नहीं सकता है. सो वी आर इन द संसारा एंड वी आर कीप मूविंग and we are keep circulating in this samsara, and we are stuck between the birth and death still. So because of this, as a continuity of similar types, because we are repeating the same mistakes again and again, that is why we are repeating the four limbs. And this is the additional understanding of this sutra. And if you wanted to learn more the four limbs, the sutta has explained the four limbs, detailedly explain the 5 principles, and that is why I'm showing all these things to you, the 5 principles and the 4 limbs, so you can start studying and start reading this sutra. Yeah. What is the 4 limbs? The ignorance, craving, karma, or the consciousness. Because of this, the whole of suffering is continue to grow, continue to exist. Avidya, or the consciousness, is the bija. Consciousness, or the vijnana, Sanskrit will say, and in Pali we can say vijnana. Vijnana is the seed, karma is the field, Trishna is the water, and the avidya is it spread the seeds into another karma bhumi, or the karma places or karma fields, and we start repeating again and again. We are stuck in the cycle of this samsara because of these 4 limbs, and these 4 limbs has its explanation only in the ārya-śālistamba-nāma-mahāyāna-sūtra and the commentary on the ārya-śālistamba-nāma-mahāyāna-sūtra. So this is very short introduction to dependent co-arising. We can, arrange one lecture, even every lecture for each link, because it is very detailed, but because of lack of time, I'm just giving the introduction only, right? So you can read this sutra. This is a very beautiful sutra. You have to read it. The dependent co-arising. This is the true dharma. This is the reality. This is the satyata, we can say. Yeah. And this is a true phenomenon. We have to perceive this Paticcasammupada in our real life. And the Mahayana tradition always try to pursue the Paticcasammupada, and they codified this term as a shunyata. You always, I think you guys all already heard, because this shunyata is very famous. Shunyata, the shunyata referring the Paticcasammupada itself. Here they say, which remains the true phenomena, means the Paticcasammupada, which remains whether Buddha born or not, right? Even Buddha appear in this world again, he will teach the dependent origination again, because we forget these teachings. This is the true teachings, and they will say he will repeat the same teaching of the previous Buddha. And whether Buddha arise or not, the Paticcasammupada, the dharma, will be remain as it is, because it is the constant is the dharma nature, dharmata. The consistency of dharma. This is the dharma stitata, the law of dharma, dharma niyamata. Suchness is a tatatha, changeless suchness, avitata ananya tatatha, tatha. Actuality, bhutata, truth, satyata, reality, tattvam, undistorted, aviparitata, immutable, aviparyasteti. This is the characteristics of dependent co-arising. Now, this is the main important teachings. Why we are learning dependent co-arising? If you doesn't understand what is avidya, what is sankhara, what is the other 10 links, it doesn't matter. But this is the main teachings. This is why the dependent co-arising has to be taught by the Buddha. Is taught by the Buddha. The teaching of non-self. Whatever factors are there, like earth factor or the avidya link, they say all the links or all the factor is not self, not a being, not a soul, not a creature, not a human, not a person, not a female, not a male, not a neutral, not I, not mine, not any others. Likewise, other factors, we should see that this is not me. This is not, I am sitting here as Ashutosh. It is not Ashutosh is here because it is dependently arising. If one factor is missing, the Ashutosh is not here. He will disappear. He will not continue his journey in this world. And we say I, when we say I, capital I, me, my, something like that. So we are perceiving that I am independently arising. I am a being, a soul, a creature, a human, a person, a female, a male, a neutral, or I, mine, or any other. Because we are perceiving the counter teachings, which is against the teachings of the Buddha, which is the self, the Atma, we say, the Atma teaching. Buddha did not say that, Buddha did not teach the Atma, but Buddha teaches the Anatma, or in Pali we say Anatta. This is the Anatta teaching. We have to realize the Anatta teachings. This is the main objective of this Paticcasammupada doctrine. We should understand the Anatta, because we are not independent. We are dependently arisen. There are many cause and conditions comes together to form these five aggregates, right? So we are not a self. So this is how we understand the Paticcasammupada, and because of this Paticcasammupada, and it attracts so many. This teaching attracted so many scholars, especially Mahayana scholars, and they say, and they construct a new word for this Paticcasammupada. And in the Mula Madhyamika Karika, 14th lesson, 24th lesson, 18th verse, it says, Yaha pratītyasamutpāda shunyatām tam prachakshamahē sa pradnyapti rūpādāya pratipatsaiva madhyamā. We state that whichever is dependent arising, that is the emptiness, because there is no self. Likewise, when we say there is a mountain covered with many trees, or there is a jungle, many trees are there. When we go inside, there is no jungle. There is only trees. And when we see the trees, there is no tree. We have to understand these things. This is very high teachings. This is the need of the spiritual, how can we say, spiritual maturity to understand these teachings. This is not merely words. This should be understood, right? So the the founder of the Shunyata word is the Acharya Nagarjuna. He says the Paticcasammupada, ya pratītyasamutpāda shunyatam tam prachakshamahe. We are saying whatever is the dependent co-arising, that is the Shunyata, that is the empty nature of everything. There is no Nihashvabhava-vada. He introduced to all Buddhist world, all the world. Nihashvabhava, the absence of eternal essence. There is no eternal essence. So that is the Paticcasammupada. That is the higher understanding of the Paticcasammupada. What is the Dharmakaya? Like we say, like I say before, the Dharmakaya. If you start perceiving this dependent co-arising phenomena, you started to see the Buddha, the real Buddha. You can see that I put the photo like this. There is cannot see Buddha's face, but he is the ultimate body, which cannot be perceived by the naked eyes, but the spiritual eyes. You can perceive this body. You can see this body. That is why we call the Dharmakaya, the ultimate body, the ultimate achievement, what a being can achieve. That is the Dharma body. Then that is why the Nagarjuna says the homage to the Dharmakaya, homage to the ultimate body, ultimate Buddhahood. I pay homage to the fully awakened one, the supreme teacher who has taught the doctrine of relational or the dependent origination, a blissful cessation of all phenomenal thought, construction, non-origination, non-existence, non-extinction, non-destruction, non-permanence, non-identity, non-differentiation, non-coming or non-going. That is why many Mahayana, the Mahayana teachings, they say non-arising, non-ceasing. The Buddha do not arise or do not see. The it states. It is not, they are not referring the physical body or the Gautama Buddha. They are not saying addressing Gautama Buddha or Kassapa Buddha or any name of the Buddha. They are referring the Dharmakaya, the ultimate body, the Buddhahood, the teachings they are referring. We have to remember that. Therefore, the possible equation we can draw from this ārya-śālistamba-nāma-mahāyāna-sūtra is that whatever the dependent origination is the Dharmakaya, the Buddha itself, and whatever the Buddha is the Dharma. These three phenomena are same, not different, right? Yes. Now this is very beautiful verse composed by Acharya Dharmakirti on non-self. This is very important, and this is I like very much this verse composed by our Acharya Dharmakirti, the Pramana in Pramana Vartika. Ananvayopi drishtante doshastasya yasho yathoditam atma parachet chetso siddha iti tatreshta ghat krutam. When there is I, automatically there is perception of others will arise, and from the ideas of self and the other come attachment, and the aversion comes to appear. As a result of getting wrapped up in this, all the possible faults comes into being. All the suffering are existed or there because of the perception of I. I translated this into Marathi so Marathi people can understand. जेव्हा जिथे मी तेव्हा तिथे इतर ही समज निर्माण होते, आणि या मी आणि इतर संकल्पनेतूनच राग आणि तिरस्कार निर्माण होतो. परिणामी यामध्ये गुंतून सर्व संभाव्य दोष अस्तित्वात येतात. We have to realize this verse. This is very important verse uttered by Acharya Dharmakirti on the non-self. The cause of suffering is the ego, I. So we have to abandon this I by understanding the Paticcasammupada. Now what is the conclusion? The sutra in conclusion, consolidated version of the various early Buddhist sutras which were in scattered form and systematically presented the doctrine of law of dependent origination. The edited version of this sutra has utilized from N. Ross Reed's edition, which includes reconstructed Sanskrit from the Tibetan fragments and the Sanskrit Chinese sutras. The edition, however, did not include any parallels of the Chinese sutras, applied English, Sanskrit, Tibetan, Pali sequence of translation, or the mode of method to represent the comparative and the critical translation. It seems likely that the reconstructed Sanskrit edition of the text has been built from the other extant Tibetan and Chinese sutras due to loss of original Sanskrit manuscript. It seems that this Mahāyāna Sutra gives a close glimpse of early teachings of the Buddha in the boundaries of Mahāyāna teachings and navigate itself into an era of early Mahāyāna teachings. As earlier mentioned, the sutra greatly influenced the other sutras due to their systematical and doctrinal approach to the co-arising theory of the Buddha. In result, many commentaries were written by great masters like Nagarjuna and Kamalashila. Commentaries were written on the present sutra like ārya-śālistamba by Kamalashila, ārya-śālistamba-nāma-mahāyāna-sūtra and ārya-śālistamba by Nagarjuna. This is the bibliography, and thank you. Yes, my PPT is over now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. We are very grateful for your session. Now I open the forum for the questions. If anybody has it, please unmute yourself and you can ask question. Okay, make sure one at a time. I'll just call out the names, and please try to maintain and try to keep your questions very short. I know everybody wants to ask so many questions, but let's start with Pramila. Yeah, Pramila, go ahead.
मी मराठीत विचारते. धर्म काय जरा एकदा मराठीत सांगा ना. धर्म काय?
धर्म, अच्छा ठीक आहे, मी त्या पीपीटी मध्ये हे जातो. आता इथे धर्म काय लिहिलंय की आर्य अष्टांगिक मार्ग हे धर्म आहे. आर्य अष्टांगिक, हॅलो,
हा बोला.
हा, आर्य अष्टांगिक मार्ग आहेत ना, तर त्यांना त्याला मार्ग सांगितलेला आहे आणि त्या मार्गाद्वारे जी फलप्राप्ती होते आणि निर्वाणाला प्राप्तता होते ना, त्याला आपण मिळून एकत्रितपणे म्हणजे मार्ग फलप्राप्ती याला मिळून आपण धर्म म्हणतो.
अच्छा,
येस,
ठीक आहे. मार्ग आणि फलप्राप्ती यांना मिळून धर्म म्हणतो.
येस.
अच्छा, तर मग आपण बुद्धाची धर्म काय कसं समजू शकतो?
पटिच्चसमुप्पादाला समजणं, त्याला अनुभव करणं, त्यालाच आणि ते एकदा तुम्ही एक्सपिरियन्स केलात थ्रू म्हणजे तुमचं स्पिरिच्युअल अटेनमेंटच असेल ते, तर त्यातूनच तुम्हाला बुद्ध काय दिसतं, धर्म काय दिसतं.
ओके,
येस,
धन्यवाद, थँक्यू.
वेलकम.
Ekdam sada simple Pramila's question nantar. If anybody has any question after Pramila, please raise your hands, or you can even text your question in the chat box and I can take your question. So anyone else? Don't worry, you can ask.
There is a question in chat box related to Shunyata and Anatta.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Nutan has
Can we
asked.
say anatta is shunyata? Anatta and the shunyata. No, what is shunyata? It is the emptiness, shunya, or we can say the close word we can say in Sanskrit, niha swabhava. Niha swabhava, the absence of the self essence, absence of the self essence. ज्यामध्ये स्वभाव आहे ना, स्वभाव म्हणजे जे आपण आत्ता म्हणतो ना, त्याचा अब्सेन्स असणं म्हणजेच काय आहे, शून्यता आहे. आता थेरवाद मध्ये काही असे धर्म आहे, जसं काही छोटे छोटे धर्म म्हणजे काही फेनॉमेना असू शकतात, मेंटल फेनॉमेना असू शकतात. असं गरज नाही की मी बाहेरच्या गोष्टी काय बोलतोय. फेनॉमेना आहेत, ते म्हणतात की ते पण एक्झिस्ट करतात. थेरवाद असं म्हणतात की छोटे पण धर्म आहेत ना, ते अस्तित्वात आहे, त्यांचं स्वतःचं अस्तित्वात आहे. पण नागार्जुन साफ इन्कार करतात. नागार्जुन सरळ म्हणतात की कोणत्या पण धर्माचं काय स्वतःचं अस्तित्व नसतं. अब्सेन्स ऑफ स्वभाव काय अब्सेन्स आहे. तर आपण म्हणू शकतो की हे अनात्त आहे, बट थोडंसं डीप लेवलचं अजून अंडरस्टँडिंग आहे त्यामध्ये, राईट. आणि बऱ्याच प्रकारे आपण त्याला समजू शकतो. येस, अनात्त बोलू शकतो आपण त्यांना. येस. नेक्स्ट कोणाला अजून काय विचारायचं? ओके, आय थिंक एवढंच प्रश्न. येस, अजून काही?
Yeah, please raise hand who has questions, and you can ask in Hindi or English too.
Yeah, they can ask either Hindi or English.
I have a small question. The things you read, all of these gatha you read, it's in Sanskrit?
Yeah, it is in Sanskrit.
Because you have done your education in Pali and you read all this.
because I studied Sanskrit since my school, right? And I also studied Sanskrit in HKU, Hong Kong University, actually. And I read all the Sanskrit, almost many sutras, I can say, the Sanskrit sutras and the Tibetan sutras. Yeah, that is why. So I wanted to quote the Pali quotes also, but I wanted to show you guys the Sanskrit Buddhism also exists like this.
Yes, actually, that's true.
Yeah.
So Vivek sir has a question. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Ashutosh ji, Jai Bhim and Namo Buddhaya. I just have very basic questions, So like we do find difficulties sometimes, understanding the Theravada and the Mahayana, and the people do ask these questions time and again. The difference between these two. So being you are a scholar and studied Sanskrit, and most of us, also we think we follow Theravada techniques. So how do you differentiate these two techniques? And are there any differences in the teaching in Theravada and Mahayana? And, and if the people in the community do ask the questions, what techniques are differing in these two different practices? Can you explain this a little bit?
Yeah. First, we have to understand whatever is the Subhashita, the well verse, the good verse, the good words is spoken by the Buddha. Okay, that is the first thing we need to understand. Whatever is the benefit, whatever the teachings going to benefit many sentient beings are the teachings of the Buddha. This is in Pali also. We mentioned the Pali Sutta mentioned this verse, this sentence. We can find it. The whatever verse we can find, the well verse, the Subhashita, all are the words of the Buddha. What is Theravada and what is the Mahayana? It doesn't matter. We don't have to differentiate. That is not our business. That is the monastic business. Okay, but Theravada and we can say the early teachings, not the early, but the very close to the early teachings. It is the Theravada. Their approach is to become arahant, to seize all the defilement, all the bad things in this very present life and become liberated or become emancipated, attain nibbana and free from the cycle of death and birth. Now, what is Mahayana? It is a big boat or big vehicle. They wanted to carry all the sentient beings to the path of Nibbana. That is why the Bodhisattva or the Bodhisattva in Sanskrit ideology comes to exist and become popular in Mahayana. Because Mahayana says that not only becoming Arahant will bring happiness or bring any benefit. To some extent we can accept, but not in a greater extent can bring benefit to all sentient beings. But the Bodhisattva with the compassion, with the wisdom can bring many benefit or many, how can I say, many many good things in this world, and because they help, they aspire to help sentient beings to deliver to deliver from suffering. That is their main aim. But we should not differentiate this teaching. Both teachings have its beauty. Both teachings has its own creative the creativity they have. They have their own essence. They have their own uniqueness. We should not differentiate these both teachings. That this is the higher teaching, this is the lower teaching, this is the hina sattva, this is the mahasattva. No, both are applicable. Both are the teachings of the Buddha, right? So what is the basic differentiate? This Theravada promotes the arhatship, and this Mahayana promotes the attainment of Buddhahood. That is the ultimate aim, right? This is the basic differentiate. We can the difference we can say this is the basic difference of both teaching. But both teachings are beautifully explained. They do not contradict to each other. Some extent can contradict, but it is very similar. When I was attending Mahayana Buddhism lecture, he asked one student that how do you see Mahayana and the Theravada? Then he says the Theravada is the base, like a cupcake, and the Mahayana is the cherry on the cupcake, right? Both are beautiful. Both are teachings of the Buddha. The Buddha has many methods to explain the teachings in various ways, in various methods, very different methods. That is why such schools comes to appear in later dated, we can say. Some took the orthodox side, the conservative side. They do not wanted to change the teachings. That is why we can say the Theravada comes born from that. And the other side, they try to explain more and started to analyze, like this ārya-śālistamba-nāma-mahāyāna-sūtra. We cannot see the such analysis of Paticcasammupada in Pali suttas, but in the Mahayana Sutta we can see. They started to scholastic work. Scholar work has begun, like Dharmakirti comes to exist, like Nagarjuna comes to exist. Such the Diganaka, the Shantarakshita, Shantideva, many scholars wrote Pramana, and many Madhyamika schools comes to exist because they started to writing a commentary, started to analyze the teachings, right? This is the basic difference we can say. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ashutosh ji. If I may ask just a small follow-up on those questions, I know like this is part of the Asian part of the, like, mostly in India. Has Sanskrit tradition, like, in Mahayana, has adulterated some portion of Buddhism, the teachings or anything? Because we see there are a lot of infiltration of the most populist religion in India currently has kind of teachings are kind of, I don't know whether it's the right word to say, it's like an infiltration of mixed messages getting in the community. Something, when we listen to Theravada or some teachings, we think it's Mahayana and Buddhism, like as you explained, both are the, it has its own resonance, and the beautifications, and the teachings are so enormous, something that benefits the society. I think, do you see any dissimilarities, not similarities, like differences are the messages which getting across, through Sanskrit, Sanskritization has more touch, and mixed messages?
No, I will be disagreeing with you, because I saw that the many Sanskrit text very similar to Pali, very similar to Theravada teaching, very similar to early teaching. But yes, later dated literature has some how can I say, polluted words are there, right? Because they emerge with the other civilizations, other culture. That is why. But Theravada has its own point, own stand, that they stand as orthodox. They don't want to change anything. They don't wanted to mix new literature with the as new scholastic work as a Buddha Vachana. That is why we can see the purity in the Theravada teachings. But in Theravada also there are many sutras which is later dated, which is not originally spoken by the Buddha. Yeah, such as there are some Therigathas literature. You can see the if you read the Attakathas, you can see there are they mention the Sri Lankan Anuradhapura. You can see the Milinda Prashna, which is very later dated, but still added to the Tripitaka, right? Then other are in Vinaya Pitaka. There are mention of the Abhidhamma Pitaka, the compilation of Abhidhamma, which is very later dated during the Ashokan period, but still mentioned in considered as a Vinaya Pitaka, considered as a part of Tripitaka. So we cannot deny that the contamination only happened in the Mahayana sect, but also in the Theravada also. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. I don't have any further questions. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I know many people has many questions. Pramila, you still have a question. So I will request Ashutosh, can you please write your details in the chat box so that other people who has follow-up questions or anything, they can email you or reach you on your mobile
Yeah,
number.
should I share my mobile number or email?
Yeah, please, you can write that in the chat box. Thank you. That would be really helpful. I know many people has many questions, but I would request, now we are running out of time, and please do one thing, get in touch with the Ashutosh. His number is on the screen, in the chat box, and ask whatever questions you have him personally. But here we are ending the session. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Ashutosh.
thank you. Thank you so much. Now, Buddha Jai Bhim, and thank you for giving me this opportunity and deliver this beautiful lecture or the beautiful topic on the ārya-śālistamba-nāma-mahāyāna-sūtra. Thank you. Jai Bhim, Namo Buddha.
I'm sure everybody has learned a lot from you. Jai Bhim, Namo Buddhaya. I would like to thank you, every one of you who came today and joined the session and helped me successfully conduct the session. Thank you so much, everyone. We had Panchashil by Venerable Bhante Sirsavli. I thank him. Then we have a kid story session conducted by Kranti Tai. I thank her from the bottom of my heart, and Arahan for such a great story today. Everybody learned from him. And then to you for conducting such a nice guest lecture. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Every one of you, and see you on the next Sunday. Please be on time. Everyone, we conducted this Vihara session every Sunday at 10 a.m. Be there. See you all in the next Sunday.